Hi everybody, my name is Isabel. I'm a Webtoon creator, and I recently just finished my webcomic, and I wanted to go over with you things that I wish I had done differently. Because, I don't know, maybe some of you are working on your stories and you're trying to find as many tips as you can, and as somebody who worked on her Webtoon for over 3 years, I feel like I've learned a lot. And these are some things I'm definitely going to be changing when I'm starting my new story. I've split up these facts into 4 different categories: plot and planning, art style, characters and relationships, and business strategy. So let's dive in. For plot and planning, I really wish that I had planned out my plot a lot more before I started. I sort of jumped into Webtoon impulsively. I really wanted to make a Webtoon, and it was around the time I was 24, and I had this old manuscript from when I was 14, and it felt like a nostalgia trip to go back and take this story that I used to write. So I relied on that funky old script for my first season. But once that script was over, I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know exactly what I wanted my characters to do. And I had a lot of planning I had to do halfway through my story and make those chapters still make sense with the ones that 14-year-old me wrote. So I felt pretty limited. My best suggestion is you don't need to have your whole plot figured out, but it's nice to know where your characters start, where they're going, what their arc is, and how they grow, right? It's good to know what you assume your ending is going to be, what you hope your moral is going to be of your story. The bits in the middle you can work out later. If you want to have fun adventures, that's great, but it is really nice knowing how your story is going to end and the big plot points of how your characters are going to get there. The second thing I wish I had done was made it more historically accurate. I wrote historical fiction, but it was definitely more of a fiction story. It was all over the place. I had characters in outfits from different time periods. I referenced historical events that were hundreds of years apart. Granted, I knew I was doing that as I was drawing it, but I did have some people who were hoping it would be more historical, and I wasn't doing that. And while I did reference some old lore, mythology around Robin Hood, I cherry-picked things, and I could have done a lot more research into the lore, into Nottingham, into the politics. I could have done a lot more stuff. So if I was going to write a historical fiction again, I would make it much more historically accurate. I would do more research. Moving on to art style, I have 2 things I want to talk about. The first is layouts. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll know I self-published my Webtoon on Amazon. And while I still think that was a really great choice because it allows people to have a hard copy of the book if they want it, as you know, I complained a lot about having to change my formatting. When I only envisioned my story being on Webtoon, I drew it entirely in an elongated Webtoon format. And then when I wanted to print it, I needed to change it and do page format. And it took forever for me to do my first season that way, and it drove me insane. So if you think you ever want to publish your story, if you ever want to have a print option, I would suggest start out in that page format from the get-go. I think it's much easier to take those panels off a page and pop them into an elongated Webtoon format rather than trying to take miscellaneous panels and make them flow nicely on a page. The second thing I wish I had done was use brush sets earlier. So I work in Photoshop, and a lot of artists do, or they use different softwares that allow you to buy unique brush sets to add texture into your art projects, right? And I wasn't using anything. I was using the standard Photoshop brushes for a really long time, and my art was very more comic-y, hard black lines, hard fill-in, all that stuff. And I wish I'd used brushes sooner because I really love the textures they add, and they can save you a lot of time. I bought a Studio Ghibli brush-inspired set, I think on Etsy. I'll link it down below. And I love them. I think they're really fabulous for nature scenes. You have all of these brushes for different plants, and they just save me a lot of time. I think it makes my art look a lot better, especially when I'm trying to be quick and upload things consistently. And I think next I'm gonna go buy something a little more urban or industrial, so I have some more textures that I can use in city settings for my next story. The next category I want to talk about is characters and relationships. Now, I really wish that I didn't include a love triangle in my story. So as a refresher, I'm sure most of you know, but a love triangle specifically is a romantic situation where one person has two love interests, and throughout the story, you don't really know who she's going to be with or who they are going to be with, right? They kind of go back and forth between, do I want person A or person B? And I just wish I really hadn't done that. I remember thinking, oh, this will be a fun strategic choice. Like, it's very clickable. It was very popular on Webtoon at the time, and it's still very popular for some readers on Webtoon. And of course, 14-year-old me was, oh, she loved a love triangle. But I feel like it, again, really limited my story, and I think it didn't allow me to explore other options that I would have enjoyed doing. And it required me to do a lot more planning to do well, because I had this second male lead, and there were points where I realized I'm making this relationship too good and I need them to break up. How am I going to make them break up? And I had to really think about it. Like, oh, now I need to give him his own ending, and I got to make sure people still appreciate all that I've done for this character. So it took a lot of thought to give him a good story too. The only other thing I wish I had changed was changed my villain's faults. I made him a little too evil, I think. I wanted him to be super evil, super insane. I wanted you to have no reason to support him. And 14-year-old me did that by making him like the worst possible person you can imagine. But I think you can make a compelling villain without making them the worst possible person ever. Like, they don't have to be a misogynist. They don't have to be a racist. They don't have to be all of these horrible things. You can still make a compelling three-dimensional villain without making them the spawn of Satan. And so I wish I hadn't done that. The next section I want to talk about is business strategies. Now, I think it's important as a creator that, yes, this is our hobby, it's our passion to draw and make stories, but the goal is also that this could be your full-time job, right? So you have to think of it as a business person. If you're a creator, this is hopefully going to be a way for you to make money, and then you could quit your full-time job and you could do art all the time. So here are some things I wish I had done differently as a businesswoman. I wish I had made my story appeal to an older audience. Now, if you've watched another one of my videos that's about different Patreon accounts and what people pay for, we found out that the most profitable way to make money is by producing adult content. And that doesn't have to necessarily be not safe for work stuff, but more adult themes tend to sell better. And the easiest way to think about that is adults are usually more able to afford stuff, right? If you're writing a story that's more for a younger audience, for middle schoolers or teenagers, they are less likely to have the ability to pay you, right? They're not going to have credit cards, or they're not going to have a job, they're not going to have income. So purely from a strategic perspective, if you want this to be a job that can support you, it makes more sense to make your story appeal to an older audience, because those people are able to support you. And like, while my story did have mild action and it did have romance, there isn't anything particularly adult about it. And I remember thinking that my audience was a younger audience when I started writing it. So as a businesswoman moving forward, I want my story to appeal to an older audience. I think that's the right step for me as a creator, because I think I want to try creating more complex plots and relationships and write something more adult. But I think it's also the strategic business choice if you want to try to make this your job. I also wished I had advertised more on social media. I did not use all the tools at my disposal. So for context, my mom is a businesswoman, but her business does not benefit from going viral, because she needs people physically walking into her shop. So she really only needs to appeal to a local clientele. And that was something we figured out when we were working on her social media page. Like, if she went viral, it didn't change anything, right? It wouldn't actually benefit her, because she needed to appeal to her local clients. But Webtoon is really wonderful because it can be viewed all across the globe. So if you go viral, that can actually really, really benefit you. You never know when a random trend video you do is going to get seen by a lot of people, and they're going to want to read your story. So I really wish that I had hopped on Instagram trends and TikTok trends earlier. I started doing them at the very end of my story, and some things I noticed were very successful, and I wish I had done it from the get-go. So if you've got a story and you want to promote it, your social media page is your free advertising platform. If you can go viral, it happens to a lot of people randomly, but you never know when that little video you did is going to bring you a lot of readers and really help you out in the long run. And if you're doing that from the beginning of your comic all the way through, then you've got, time on your side and you've got chance on your side, I think. As opposed to just doing it all at the end, which is what I was doing. So anyways, those are my biggest what I wish I had done differently and what I hope to change and take into consideration for my next story. I'm working on it right now, and I'm hoping to post some more videos about my planning process and how I plan out my character arcs and my character sheets and all that stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.